Welcome to the Hidden Truths, where the most intimate mysteries come to life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you never miss a secret. Now, let's pull back the veil. I thought I knew her. All these years, I thought I knew her inside and out. Every little quirk, every smile, every way she'd curl up on the couch after a long day and sigh like she had found her place in the world. Her name is Sarah, my wife of 7 years, the woman I married when we were still figuring out who we were, both of us just out of college, dreaming about our future together. We were supposed to be partners, supposed to be equal. I never thought anything could come between us. That is, until the night she came home late, her phone in hand, a nervous look in her eyes. It wasn't unusual for her to work late. We both had demanding jobs. But something about her demeanor was different. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment I lost her, before I even knew I had. It started, as all things do, with a simple conversation. "I think I need to talk to you about something," Sarah said, sitting across from me at the dinner table, pushing her plate of food aside. "Sure," I replied, not thinking much of it. I had been buried in work all day and had barely seen her. "What's up?" She hesitated. There was something in her eyes, a flicker of doubt, maybe fear, that I didn't understand. "I don't know how to say this," she said, biting her lip as if she was deciding whether to continue. "But I've been thinking a lot about who I am, about who I've always been." I felt a strange sense of unease settle in my chest, but I couldn't place it. "Okay," I said slowly, waiting for her to continue. "I think I'm gay," she said, the words tumbling out of her mouth like they were trying to escape, like she'd been holding them in for far too long. I froze. The words felt like a punch to the gut. Not because of what they meant, but because of how they shattered everything I thought I knew. It wasn't just the admission of her sexuality that left me breathless. It was the realization that I had no idea who she had become in all these years. Sarah didn't look like she was waiting for my reaction. She just looked at me, her eyes brimming with emotion. "I've known for a while, but I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you." I wanted to say something. Anything. But my throat felt tight, like the air had suddenly thickened and made it hard to breathe. The woman I had shared everything with, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, was telling me that she was someone entirely different than I had imagined. "I don't know what to say," I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "How long have you known this?" "I've known for a while," she said softly, almost regretfully. "I didn't want to hide it from you, but I also didn't know how to face it myself." I could feel the distance growing between us with every passing second. She had known for a while, and she had kept it from me. That fact stung more than anything else. I stood up, walking away from the table, feeling like I needed to put some space between us. "So, what does this mean for us, Sarah? What do we do now?" She followed me into the living room, her voice low, almost hesitant. "I don't know," she admitted. I think I need to explore this part of me. I think I need to understand it, and I need to be honest with myself." "Honest?" I repeated, the word feeling strange on my tongue. "And what about me? What about everything we've built together?" She reached out for my hand, but I pulled it away. "I don't know if I can do this, Sarah. You've been living a lie. You've been hiding this from me, and I can't just pretend everything is okay. I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered, the words breaking through her voice like they were too heavy for her to carry. "But I've been living in a way that isn't true to who I am. And I need to be true to myself." I looked at her, but it wasn't the woman I had married that I saw. It was a stranger. A woman who had lied to me for so long that I didn't know what was real anymore. "You've been living a lie for how long, Sarah?" I asked, the bitterness rising in my voice. "How long have you been hiding this from me, pretending to be something you're not?" "I'm sorry," she said again, but the words felt empty now. "I never meant for it to go this far. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't stay in that house with her anymore. So I grabbed my jacket, grabbed my keys, and walked out. I spent the next few days at a hotel. I couldn't go back to our house, not yet. I needed space, not just from her, but from everything that had been built on lies. I needed to figure out what to do with myself. What we had become. And then the call came. It was her. Again. I don't know what to do, Ethan, she said, her voice shaking. I don't know where to go from here. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to lie to you. But I think I need to be with someone else. My chest tightened, and for the first time, I realized how much of myself I had given to this relationship, to her. I had loved her, trusted her, built my life around her. And she had just torn it all down. Is it her? I asked, my voice hollow. She didn't answer at first. I've been spending time with someone, she said finally, her voice quieter now. Her name is Julia. She's a woman I've been seeing for the past few months. I didn't know how to respond. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything. Sarah had fallen in love with someone else, someone who wasn't me. And now, she was telling me she was leaving. Not for someone else's mistake, but for her own truth. I need to go, she said softly. I need to explore this side of me, Ethan. I can't keep pretending anymore. The finality in her voice hit me like a freight train. Do you love her? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I think I do, she said, almost hesitantly. But I don't know for sure. I just know I need to figure this out. And just like that, I was left in a storm of my own making, the pieces of our life scattered across a floor I no longer recognized. I didn't speak to Sarah again for weeks. I stayed in that hotel room, nursing the emotional wounds she had inflicted on me. But over time, the anger started to fade. Not because I had forgiven her, but because I realized there was nothing left to fight for. She was no longer the woman I loved. She was someone else, someone I didn't know. And the person who had hurt me the most wasn't her. It was me. I had stayed in the dark for so long, clinging to a relationship that was built on fear and denial. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. One evening, I reached out to my old friend, Michael. He had been a steady presence in my life for years, someone who had always been there for me when things got tough. You okay? He asked, when I finally picked up the phone. I will be, I said. I just need to figure this out. Take your time, man. You've been through a lot. Yeah, I said, a tired smile creeping onto my face. I think I finally get it. It's strange, the way time works when everything around you shatters. In the weeks after Sarah's confession, the days blurred together. I moved through them like a man in a fog, going through the motions of life, but not really living it. I couldn't remember when I started to breathe again. But I do remember the first time I woke up without the suffocating weight of Sarah's betrayal on my chest. It wasn't the end of it. It was just the first step in the healing process. And even though I couldn't see the finish line, I knew it was there, somewhere, in the distance. After the phone call with Sarah, I didn't reach out to her. I didn't ask for details or try to make sense of her feelings. She had made her decision. She had chosen her path, and I wasn't going to keep dragging myself through the mud, waiting for her to come back or apologize. I was done. That doesn't mean it was easy. That doesn't mean I didn't feel the pang of grief every time I thought about the years we had spent together, about the future I had imagined with her. It didn't mean that the anger didn't flare up again, that the betrayal didn't sneak up on me like a shadow in the corner of my mind. But I wasn't going to give it power anymore. I wasn't going to let it destroy me. The first night I slept without Sarah next to me was the hardest. I didn't expect it to be, but it was. I had gotten used to her presence, even when it was quiet, even when it felt distant. Her absence in that bed was like a wound reopening, even though I knew I was better off. I woke up early the next morning, just before dawn. The apartment was quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator. I couldn't stay still. My thoughts were racing, and I couldn't quiet them. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out over the city. The early morning light was soft, the streets still empty, the air cool. It was the kind of quiet I hadn't had in months. The kind of peace I hadn't known was missing. And that's when I realized I had been so focused on Sarah, on our relationship, on the life we had shared, that I had forgotten about myself. I had forgotten what it meant to be me, to live my own life without someone else's shadow looming over it. I had been living in a story that wasn't mine anymore. And now, it was time to write my own. I threw myself into work. I always had. But this time, it wasn't just about distractions. It wasn't about avoiding the pain. It was about carving out a space for myself that wasn't connected to the past. I had spent so long making sure everyone else was happy, Sarah, my friends, my family, and I had lost myself in the process. I started with small things. Taking on new projects at work. Organizing my apartment, getting rid of the things that reminded me of her. Things that, once, had felt like a part of our life together. I didn't want to erase the past. I didn't want to forget it. But I needed to reclaim my own space. I needed to remind myself that I was more than the man who had been betrayed. I also started running again. I hadn't run in months. I hadn't felt the energy to do it, the drive. But now, it felt different. Running became my therapy. My way of moving forward without looking back. I felt the weight lifting from my chest, one step at a time. A few weeks later, Elena and I started talking more seriously. We had met at a mutual friends gathering months ago, but we hadn't been anything more than casual acquaintances. I wasn't looking for anything serious, and neither was she. But as time passed, we started seeing each other more. Our dates were simple: dinners, walks, late-night talks. There were no expectations. We were both just two people trying to make sense of our lives, trying to rebuild. But there was something about her, something kind and gentle, that made me feel seen again. One evening, we were sitting on the couch in my apartment, talking about life, when she looked at me with those soft eyes that had become so familiar. "You've been through a lot, Callum," she said, her voice quiet, almost hesitant. I smiled softly. "I have. But you're not just surviving anymore," she added. "You're living." I looked at her, my heart swelling a little. She was right. I wasn't just surviving. I wasn't just waiting for the pain to go away. I was living. I was moving forward. "Thank you for being patient with me," I said, feeling a wave of gratitude. "For not rushing me. For just being here." She smiled, a soft, understanding smile. "You don't have to thank me. I'm not here to fix you. I'm just here to walk alongside you." And for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But even as things began to feel lighter, there was still a part of me that had to confront the past. The wounds that had been left behind. The pieces of myself I had buried when I had been so focused on keeping up appearances. I reached out to my therapist, someone I hadn't seen in months. I knew I needed to go back. I knew I needed to talk about the things I had been avoiding. The first session was hard. I hadn't realized how much I had buried until I started talking. There was so much anger, so much resentment still left inside me. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the years I had spent living in a lie. It was about the pieces of myself I had lost trying to please someone else. But as I spoke, something started to shift. I began to see the truth more clearly, not just about what had happened with Sarah, but about what I had allowed myself to become. I had spent so much time focusing on everyone else that I had forgotten about me. I had forgotten how to be whole, how to be my own person. One afternoon, as I walked down the street, I saw Sarah for the first time since the divorce. She was standing outside a cafe with a friend, laughing. She looked different, but the same. She looked free. She didn't see me at first, and I didn't make a move to say anything. I stood there for a moment, watching her, and for the first time, I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel the betrayal. I didn't feel the weight of the past. I just saw her. I saw the woman she had become, and I realized that she wasn't my woman anymore. She wasn't my life anymore. I turned around and walked away. A few months later, I was sitting on the couch with Elena. The light from the setting sun filtered through the window, casting a soft glow across the room. We were talking, as we always did, about everything and nothing. And as I looked at her, I realized something important. I had found peace. Not in the way I had imagined, not in the way I had expected, but in the way I had chosen to rebuild. I wasn't the same person I had been before. I wasn't the broken man who had been betrayed. I was someone new, someone who had learned to let go and to forgive, not just Marissa, but myself. And for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I needed to be. The days after our conversation felt like I was walking through life underwater. There was a heavy silence between Sarah and I, a gulf that had been created by her betrayal, and I could feel the pressure of it every time we shared a room. The house, once a place of comfort and warmth, now felt cold and foreign, like it was a place I didn't belong anymore. I spent most of my time at work, staying late to avoid the silence at home. When I wasn't working, I was running. I ran to get away from the pain, to clear my head, to feel something other than the weight of what Sarah had done. But no matter how far I ran, I couldn't outrun the truth. The truth that she had betrayed me. The truth that our marriage, our life, had been a lie. But the truth wasn't just about her. It was about me too. I had spent so many years trying to make everything work, trying to please her, to make her happy, to be the husband I thought she needed. But in doing so, I had lost myself. I had neglected my own needs, my own desires, my own happiness. I had forgotten who I was outside of the marriage. I needed to find myself again. A week later, Sarah came to me, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She had been asking to talk for days, but I had avoided her. I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure I would ever be ready. But she wasn't going to give up that easily. "I need to explain," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't want to lose you, Ethan. I made a huge mistake. I've been so confused. But I'm still your wife. I still love you. Please, just listen." Her words echoed in my ears, but they didn't hit me the way I thought they would. I had been hoping for her to understand the damage she had done, hoping she would come to her senses and realize how deeply she had hurt me. But now, all I felt was exhaustion. "You love me?" I asked, my voice cold. "You love me, and yet you slept with her? With her?" She flinched, her eyes welling up with tears. "I know it doesn't make sense. But I've been so confused for so long. I thought I could fix things on my own. I thought I could suppress it, but I can't anymore. I'm so sorry, Ethan." "I don't want your apologies, Sarah," I said, my voice trembling with frustration. "I don't want the explanations. I don't want the lies. I didn't lie to you," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought I could hide it, but I can't anymore. I've been hiding from myself. I've been hiding from the truth. I didn't know how to respond. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep holding on to something that wasn't real anymore. I don't know who you are anymore," I said softly, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I want to fix this." She reached out, her hand trembling as she touched my arm. "Please, Ethan. Please don't give up on me. I need you. I need us." The desperation in her voice hit me like a wave, but it wasn't enough to pull me back. I had been trying to save us for so long, but she had already made her choice. She had already let someone else in. I pulled away from her touch. "I'm done, Sarah," I said, my voice firm. "I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine when it's not. I'm done. We're done." The days that followed were a blur of paperwork, legalities, and awkward conversations with friends who tried to be supportive, but didn't know what to say. I didn't want their pity. I didn't want their advice. I just wanted space. I spent more time at the gym, lifting weights and running. I pushed myself harder than I ever had before, trying to channel the anger into something productive. But the truth was, I was running from myself. I didn't know how to stop feeling this way. I didn't know how to forgive her. And I wasn't sure I ever would. The first time I saw her after our conversation, it was in the hallway of the apartment. I had just come home, and there she was, standing in the doorway of the bedroom, staring at me like she didn't know how to speak, like she was waiting for me to make the first move. I can't keep doing this, I said, my voice low and tired. I don't know how much longer I can live in this limbo. She nodded, her eyes filled with tears. I know. I know you're hurt. And I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need you to understand that I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't want this. Then why did you do it? I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop them. Why didn't you come to me first, Sarah? Why didn't you talk to me before you went behind my back? I was scared, she whispered. I was scared of losing you, and I thought that if I could just pretend everything was fine, maybe it would be. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. I didn't know what to say anymore. I had no words left for her. No more excuses, no more. It's okay. S. I can't keep pretending, Sarah, I said, my voice breaking. I can't live like this anymore. I need to be alone. That night I left. I didn't want to stay in that apartment anymore. It wasn't home. It was a reminder of everything I had lost. Everything that had been destroyed. I packed a few things, grabbed my keys, and drove. I didn't know where I was going, but I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I found a small apartment a few days later. A place that was mine. No memories, no ghosts of the past. It wasn't much, but it was enough. It wasn't easy, living without her. But it was easier than I thought it would be. I was starting over. And that was enough for me. The weeks that followed my decision to leave Sarah felt like I was walking a tightrope. It wasn't about anger anymore. It wasn't even about revenge, even though part of me wanted to destroy everything she had built with Lucas, wanted to make her feel the way I felt. No, it was deeper than that. It was about the quiet process of healing, a healing I hadn't asked for, but one I was being forced to undertake. The apartment I found was small, barely more than a studio, but it became my sanctuary. The walls were bare, and the furniture was minimal. I didn't want to surround myself with reminders of the life I had shared with Sarah. Every little thing in the old apartment had carried a memory: the old coffee mugs, the photographs on the walls, the knickknacks we had collected over the years. I couldn't face those memories. Not yet. So I started fresh. The simplicity of the space felt freeing. I didn't need anything else. Not when everything I had once believed in had been ripped away so suddenly. Elena had been patient with me, but I could sense her hesitations. She never pushed. She knew the kind of emotional damage I had sustained. She didn't try to fill the empty space left by Sarah. She didn't try to take over. Instead, she allowed me the space to breathe, the time to process what had happened. But that didn't mean it was easy. I spent evenings with Elena, quiet dinners, long walks in the park. I didn't talk much about Sarah or Lucas, but she could see the heaviness in my eyes. I didn't have to explain it. She understood that words wouldn't fix the cracks, that time was the only thing that would. One evening, after we had finished dinner, Elena looked at me, her expression soft but searching. "How are you really doing?" she asked, her voice tentative. I hadn't heard those words in a while. No one had asked me that in months. Everyone had been too busy pretending, too busy making me play the role of the guy who has it all together, despite the reality of my shattered world. But Elena wasn't like them. She saw me. She saw the person I was, not the one I was pretending to be. "I'm getting there," I said, my voice low. "I'm taking things one day at a time. It's hard. Some days it feels like I'm still walking through fog. But I know I'm moving forward." She nodded, taking my hand in hers. "I'm here, whenever you're ready to talk about it. Or if you need space. Just know that I'm not going anywhere." Her words, her touch, gave me something I didn't know I needed: comfort. I didn't need her to fix me. I didn't need her to erase the pain or the past. I just needed her to be there. And that was enough. Months passed. I continued to see my therapist, not because I had to, but because I needed to understand the damage Sarah had caused, to make sure I didn't carry it forward into everything else. The therapy wasn't easy. It forced me to confront things I didn't want to. But it also made me realize something important. I had to stop blaming Sarah. I had to stop blaming Lucas. And, most importantly, I had to stop blaming myself. It wasn't my fault that Sarah had betrayed me. It wasn't my fault that Lucas had betrayed our friendship. The only thing I could control was how I moved forward. And I knew that if I kept holding on to the anger, if I kept clinging to the past, I would never be free. I saw Lucas once more after everything had settled. It wasn't planned. I was at a local cafe when I spotted him sitting by the window, staring out at the street. His face was pale, his eyes tired, like he hadn't slept in days. There was no smugness, no arrogance this time. Just a broken man, as lost as I had felt when I first found out what he had done. I hesitated. I didn't want to confront him. I didn't want to dredge up everything again. But I knew I had to. For myself. I walked over to his table, and he looked up, startled at first, then resigned, like he had been waiting for this moment. "Callum," he said, his voice rough. I stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. There was so much I could say, so much anger and hurt I could throw at him. But I didn't. I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't the person who needed to lash out, to make him feel as small as he had made me feel. "You ruined everything," I said quietly, sitting down across from him. "You didn't just destroy our friendship, Lucas. You destroyed me. And you destroyed Sarah too. This isn't just about me anymore. This is about all the lives you've messed up. All the people you've used." He didn't say anything. He just stared at me, his face twisted in guilt and something I couldn't quite place. Regret, maybe. Or shame. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he finally whispered. "I never meant to hurt you. I've messed up. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't think I can." I didn't answer. I just looked at him, not out of hatred, but out of understanding. He was a man drowning in the consequences of his own actions. He had broken something, and I could see that it was breaking him too. "Do better," I said quietly, standing up to leave. "If you ever want to make this right, if you ever want to fix what you've done, then you need to start with yourself. You need to find a way to fix you before you can even begin to apologize to anyone else." He didn't reply. He didn't need to. He was already broken enough without me saying anything else. The weeks after that meeting were easier. I didn't need closure from Lucas. I didn't need an apology from him or from Sarah. What I needed was to stop looking back. I went back to therapy. I found new ways to focus on myself, to become the person I wanted to be, not the person I had been forced into becoming. I started writing more, not for anyone else, but for myself. And through it all, Elena was there, steady and calm. She never pushed, never tried to fix me. She was just there, holding space for me as I navigated this new life. I didn't need her to save me. But, slowly, I began to realize that I was saving myself. One evening, as I was sitting with Elena on my couch, a thought crossed my mind, one that had been lingering in the background for a while now. "I don't want to be defined by my past anymore," I said, looking at her. "I don't want to carry the weight of what happened with Sarah and Lucas around with me forever. I've spent too long blaming them. It's time I took my life back." She smiled, her hand gently resting on mine. "You already have, Callum. You already have." And for the first time, I felt that sense of freedom. I wasn't who I had been, and I didn't have to be. The days had started to feel easier, the kind of easy that comes with time and distance. The weight I had been carrying for so long was gradually lifting, and I was starting to realize that the man I was now was not the same person I was before Sarah and Lucas had shattered everything I thought I knew. I had grown. I had changed. But in the best way possible. I spent more time with Elena, though it was never rushed. Our connection wasn't based on fixing something broken. It was about two people finding each other in the quiet moments. She didn't need me to be anyone other than myself, and that felt like the most freeing thing in the world. I found a sense of stability with her. Not the kind I'd once had with Sarah, full of expectations, assumptions, and blind faith, but the kind that allowed room for growth, for change, for real, unfiltered connection. But even as I embraced this new relationship, a small part of me was still wary. I wasn't sure if I was ready to fully trust again, or if I ever would be. That kind of trust, built from years of shared history, had been destroyed so completely by the people I had once considered the closest to me. Could I trust Elena? Could I let go of that last shred of fear that something would come crashing down again? It wasn't that I didn't believe in her. It was that I had learned the hard way not to take anything for granted. It was a Saturday afternoon when I got the call. I hadn't heard from Sarah in weeks, and the silence from her end had been strangely deafening. At first, I didn't pick up when I saw her name flashing on the screen. The urge to avoid her was still strong, the pull of the past still a heavy thing. But then something inside me, some quiet whisper of the man I used to be, told me to answer. To face it. To close the door on this once and for all. I swiped the screen and brought the phone to my ear. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice small and almost hesitant. "I didn't know who else to call. I need to talk to you." The moment I heard her voice, my stomach tightened. Even after all this time, hearing her name still brought up waves of emotion. Not anger. Not hatred. Just the residual ache of everything we had lost. "What is it, Sarah?" I asked, trying to keep my tone steady, but I could feel the tension building in my chest. She paused, as if gathering her thoughts. "I don't know how to say this, but I need you to understand. I've made a huge mistake." I closed my eyes, my heart racing. "What is it? What do you want me to understand?" "I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice shaking now. "I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I knew what I needed. But I've realized I was wrong." I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure what to say. The urge to hang up was strong, but part of me, some small part of me that was still tangled in the past, wanted to hear what she had to say. "I've been seeing someone else," she continued, her words hanging in the air. "Her name is Lily. And I think I'm in love with her." I felt the blood drain from my face. It wasn't that I hadn't expected this. In some twisted part of my mind, I had known. But hearing her admit it so simply, sent a chill through me. For a moment, I was silent, unable to find the words. Then, finally, I spoke, the words coming out more calmly than I felt. "So this is why you did what you did? You've been hiding this from me for months. And now you want me to understand it? I never wanted to hurt you," she said again, as if repeating the same thing would somehow make it true. "But I was living a lie. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was trying to hold on to something that wasn't real. And Lily, she makes me feel like I'm finally me." I was shaking now. "Do you even understand what you've done, Sarah? Do you understand how badly you've betrayed me?" "I do," she whispered. "And I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry for how it ended. I never wanted it to go this way. But I can't keep living a lie. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, steadying myself. "It's over, Sarah. You made your choices. And now you need to live with them." "I understand," she said, almost a sob in her voice. "I just needed you to know. I needed to tell you the truth. Goodbye, Sarah." I hung up before she could say another word. The days after that phone call felt like a whirlwind, but they were different from the storms I had weathered before. It wasn't anger that was driving me anymore. It was a strange peace. The kind of peace that comes when you've finally accepted that something is beyond your control. That it's done. I turned my attention back to Elena. She had been patient with me throughout everything, never rushing me, never pushing me to talk when I wasn't ready. She understood, and she gave me the space I needed. But I couldn't ignore the pull anymore. The fear that I had been holding on to, the fear that love would always be a gamble, always be something that could slip away when you least expected it. But I knew I couldn't keep living like that. I couldn't keep holding on to the past, onto the fear of being hurt again. So, I made a choice. A few days later, I invited Elena over to my apartment, knowing that it was time to have the conversation we had both been avoiding. When she arrived, I didn't waste time. I needed her to understand where I was, and I needed to make it clear that I was ready to move forward. I need you to know something, I said, taking her hand in mine. What happened with Sarah, it's over. I've accepted it. I've let go of it. I'm not holding on to the past anymore. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. And what about us? She asked softly. What about this? I want this, I said, my voice steady. I want to build something real with you, Elena. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I'm ready to try. I'm ready to be with you. To see where this can go. She smiled, her hand gently squeezing mine. I'm here. I'm with you, Callum. And I'm ready too. The weeks that followed were filled with small steps, laughs, walks, moments of quiet understanding. I didn't know where the future would take me. I didn't know if I could ever trust someone the way I had trusted Sarah. But with Elena, I didn't need to rush it. I didn't need to figure it all out right away. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of moving forward. I wasn't afraid of what the future held, because I had learned that the only thing I could control was myself. The rest would fall into place. And in the end, that was enough. Thank you for being with us on the Hidden Truths. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. The secrets are waiting to be revealed. See you soon.